Good morning and welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Fellowship of Midlands online worship service. I'm Susan Meyer, Worship Associate for this morning's service. If you have not already, please type into the chat box who you are and who you brought with you today. Unitarian Universalism is a welcoming and inclusive religion. It encourages us to keep open hearts and minds because our own experience, conscience, and reason are the final authorities in religion. It affirms the inherent worth and dignity of every person and that we are all connected to each other in the earth. If you are visiting us today, a special welcome to you, including folks from UU Congregation of Petoskey. Welcome. We appreciate you spending some of your Sunday morning with us. If you have any questions, please let us know in the chat box, by phone, or through our Facebook page. If you have been attending for some time and have come to feel that this is your spiritual home and you're considering becoming a member of the fellowship, please contact our minister, Eric Severson, or a member of our welcome team, or let us know your interest in the chat box. If you have a chalice or candle at home and would like to join in our chalice lighting remotely, now would be a good time to get that ready. We will be including joys and sorrows in this morning's service, as we normally do. You will want to find the participant icon and raise your hand for that. Now, we have an online donation option, which will be introduced after the service. Our announcements for today: if you have children or grandchildren who would like to participate, online religious education sessions will be held today and future Sundays at 1 p.m. The Zoom invitation will be posted in the UUFOM Parent Circle Facebook group. Email dreheather@uufom.org for more information. Watch your email for our Candle Flame newsletter on Tuesdays and Saturdays. Email office@uufom.org to subscribe, or if you have an item to submit. Next week's service will be the business of nonprofit organizations, fostering a more just and moral world, led by Denise Reiling. How do nonprofit organizations help us help others? Our minister and board of directors would like you to know that for everyone's safety, UUFOM in-person activities will continue to be suspended through the end of August and possibly beyond, unless safer options such as small groups and outdoor activities are identified. If you have any questions, contact Eric Severson or Shannon Sonoris.
Good morning. This is Beth Sperry here, and I'm here to remind everybody that the Wonderland Tea Party live auction via Zoom is coming up in less than 2 weeks on Saturday, May 9th at 6 o'clock. Don't be late. Heather has activities planned for the kids, so please email her if you'd like to have your young people participate while you're madly bidding over Zoom. And the silent auction will be taking place via Bidding Owl. A Zoom training for the silent auction will be held on Thursday, April 30th at 7 o'clock. The link to that training is also in the Candle Flame. And drum roll, the bidding for the silent auction will start at noon on Friday, May 1st. In the meantime, click on the Bidding Owl link and check out the fabulous donations. And note that at the bottom of the opening page, there's a help feature that says, "Have questions? Contact us." Then You can register to be a bidder and plan your bidding strategy. And don't forget to get together your scone recipes and your favorite tea so that we can all be down the rabbit hole on Saturday, May 9th. Thank you.
If you have a candle or chalice at home and would like to light it now, please do so. Our chalice lighting words today are titled For Our Collective Liberation by Deanna Van Diver. Please join me in reading the words on your screen. We light this chalice, symbol of our faith alive in this world, naming our vision of collective liberation and daring to remember each other into beloved community.
Thank you, Susan. Our opening words today are by Unitarian Universalist Minister, the Reverend Amy Bowden Friedman. Sometimes I feel like a motherless child. Here may you find a warm greeting, a kind word, a gentle touch. Sometimes I feel like I have no friend. Here may you find a community of support, a pulse of liberation, a vision of hope. Sometimes I feel I'm almost gone. Here may you find a song to sing, a moment of silence, a hand to hold. Even when you are a long way from home, may these walls give you shelter. May this community break through your loneliness, and may you feel the embrace of a larger spirit of life and love. Come, let us worship together.
Motherless child, a long way from home, a long way from home. Sometimes I feel like I have no friend. Sometimes I feel like I have no friend. Sometimes I feel like I have no friend. A long way from home. A long way from home. Sometimes I feel like I'm almost gone. Sometimes I feel like I'm almost gone. Sometimes I feel like I'm almost gone. A long way from home. A long way from home.
We'll just try that again. Can you all hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Sorry. So today's story is Because You Smiled, a mostly true adaptation of Because Amelia Smiled by David Ezra Stein. And I say mostly true because this story comes from our congregation. And every action that was done in here is something that someone did that helped another person. Once upon a time, a small congregation faced with a pandemic decided to fill their empty sanctuary with 70 voices and more from across town and across the country. This was our congregation 6 weeks ago. Because we gathered to share our stories, we learned our strength together and we created other online stories. A little girl named Katie and her mom created Storytime with Friends, an online place where kids could read to kids. Because Katie and her mom created Storytime, a boy named Kaysen read stories to younger kids. Because Kaysen read a bedtime story one night, I had time to work on other things, ways to help kids, like making activity kits. And because I made activity kits, many children in our congregation went outside and made chalk drawings. Because the children had activities to do outside after helping out, a woman named Lisa was able to help more on the farm of a woman named Carol. And because Carol had extra help, she was able to provide eggs to our congregation when the stores had none. And because she provided eggs, a woman named Amy was able to make delicious food. Because Amy was able to make delicious food, she was able to provide dinner to a family of a woman named Paula who had broken her ribs in a fall from her horse. Because our congregation was inspired by things, they came to Facebook page more often and saw that a sewer line of a woman and a man named Monica and Scott had just broken. Because they read about the sewer line, they helped Monica and Scott pay to fix the sewer line. Because Monica and Scott shared their stories, others shared theirs. A woman named Vicky offered to weed the church gardens. Other women found ways to hold Sangha so congregants could meditate together online. Nurses, like Amanda, shared a need for masks. And because a woman named Marcia and many others read about masks, they made masks so that many people could go safely from the grocery store to help their families. Because a man named Kevin saw all the things his community had done to help each other, he was moved to play a particularly beautiful song during offertory. And because his music was particularly beautiful, the children and adults enjoyed their time looking for eggs that everyone had hidden. And because the parents of a little girl named Maple had also hidden eggs, there was an extra egg for Maple to find on the couch behind them. And Maple smiled. The end. Or is it?
Fantastic. Thank you, Heather. We're a caring community where we share special joys that lift our hearts and sorrows that bring us pain. In these times, we are heard. I invite you now to center yourselves and enter into a time of reflection, meditation, or prayer. Today's meditation is titled, "We Find Our Salvation Here" by Deanna Van Diver. Throughout time, our Unitarian Universalist faith tradition has held a thread of clarity. How we relate to each other creates the conditions of hell or heaven here on earth. We may not know or agree about what lies beyond this life, but it's our conviction that our actions and our inactions have consequences for the web of all existence. While fascinating and mysterious, we do not place our hopes for salvation in what happens after death. We find our salvation here on earth, showing up for each other with mercy, respect, and compassion. How are we relating to our neighbors, friends? As a people of faith, we are called to a love that is bold, to love beyond our skill and through our fear, with courage and compassion. As a faithful collective, we are called to offer sanctuary, refuge, and comfort to everyone afflicted by the systems of oppression in this world. As faithful individuals, we are called to relationships of care and accountability. It makes a difference in the quality of this world when people with access to privilege and power give voice to a vision of collective liberation and name the obstacles within and without that limit us. Can we choose to live courageously, a people of faith, a people so bold? Can we faithfully challenge evil in the world and the sins of society that have become internalized within our beings? Our faith does not require that we be unafraid, only that we do not lead with fear or make our decisions from a place of fear. Our presence matters. How we relate to each other creates the conditions of hell or heaven here on earth. May we remember and affirm that we are all in this together, friends. We are all in this together. Amen. Susan will now share our reading for today, titled "To All Get Free Together" by organizer and author Chris Crass.
To become an anti-racist faith community, the key question for a white majority community is not how do we get people of color to join our faith community. It is instead, how can we make a prolonged, spiritually rooted, engaged commitment to uprooting white supremacy within our community and take ongoing collective action to challenge it in society. Our goal is not to have white people sitting alongside a person of color so as to affirm that those white people aren't racist. Our goal is to build and be part of a beloved community united to end structural oppression and unleash collective liberation in our faith communities, schools, neighborhoods, workplaces, and throughout society. Our goal is to join hands across divisions of racism in our faith and our communities and affirm the humanity in each other. Our goal is to join hearts and minds to the task of destroying white supremacy in every worldview, policy, law, institution, and governing body of our society. For our faith communities to be places of healing from the nightmare of racism that haunts people of color and white people. Our faith communities to be places of nourishment, sustaining the multiracial struggles of our people to advance economic, racial, and gender justice. For communities to be, for the faith communities to be part of a continual process of working within the movement as part of the journey to end oppression in society. For our faith communities to raise our children of all backgrounds to be freedom fighters and practitioners of liberation values. Our goal is for our faith communities to be spiritually alive, learning from and contributing to a liberation culture and legacies. For our faith communities to be welcoming homes for people of all colors, sexualities, classes, ages, abilities, genders, and citizenship statuses. For our faith communities to regularly invite us into and prepare us for courageous action for collective liberation, held in loving community for the long haul. May our faith communities be active agents in the world to help us all get free together. Let us now share in an interlude called Nocturne, Opus 88, number 3, by Heinrich Hoffmann, played for us today by Melanie Williston.
Thank you, Melanie. That was lovely. How many of you have ever paddled a canoe? I can imagine all your hands being raised. Me too. Canoeing is one of the things I'm looking most forward to doing this coming summer. It's an outdoor physical activity that you can do with more than one person and which provides encounters with the natural world that you might not otherwise have. The thing about canoeing is that it takes teamwork, communication, and coordination of people's efforts. I don't know how many times I've run into obstacles or swamped a canoe. In my experience, if you hope to do more than go around in circles, at least one person in the stern needs to learn how to steer. The other in the bow provides power. It's also been my experience that two paddlers can generate more power by making their strokes together, can generate more forward thrust and more easily overcome the drag of wind, gravity, and water tension on the boat's hull. Pulling together provides a kind of synergy, useful for making progress, and involving everyone in the boat. Very much like you see in competitive rowing. Pulling together is a useful metaphor both for working toward liberation and for getting through this current health crisis. I was reminded this past week on social media of the musical theater production Billy Elliot. A photo reminded me of how La Crosse Community Theater produced the show 4 years ago next month. At the end of April 2016, just weeks before opening night, Ellen and I were managing the rigors of nightly rehearsals of singing and dancing with 2 or 3 dozen other people, from elementary students to elders from many walks of life. I miss the physicality of it. I miss the beautiful story and the music. I miss the British coal miners who were on strike singing, "We will always stand together in the dark, right through the storm. We will stand shoulder to shoulder and keep us warm." In our current heartbreaking time of a pandemic, when families like Regina and Ben and the Barth family cannot be at the bedsides of their sick or dying loved ones, this sentiment of standing together through the storm seems so poignant. But the miners' message of solidarity is exactly what we need now. As public health authorities and pundits have been saying for weeks, independently violating stay-at-home orders will only put others at risk and extend our time of self-quarantine. One bit of good news is that it appears that our unified efforts are lowering the curve. We are slowing the rate of infections so that our healthcare providers and systems can keep up with the demand for care. And despite the fear, the suffering, and the death, the pandemic is teaching us things. This past week, Unitarian Universalist Association President Susan Frederick Gray pointed out that everything about this pandemic shows us how interconnected we are, how much we need each other. This is a time for connection, for community, for cooperation and solidarity, she said. We pull through this by pulling together. Reverend Frederick Gray grounded her remarks in the Universalist theology and message that liberation and salvation are not individual, but collective. Deanna Van Diver in our meditation also wrote about salvation. Quote, "We may not know or agree about what lies beyond this life, but it's our conviction that our actions and our inactions have consequences for the web of all existence. We find our salvation here on earth," she wrote, "by showing up for each other with mercy, respect, and compassion. We are called to love beyond our skill and through our fear." End quote. Van Diver extended this to the work of liberation by saying that we're called to offer refuge and comfort, courage and compassion to everyone afflicted by systems of oppression. Our faith tradition calls us to relationships of care and accountability. It does not require that we be unafraid, she said, only that we not lead from fear or make our decisions from a place of fear. In this, our incarnational faith, even and especially now, Separated as we are by electrons and ether, our presence to one another matters. How we relate to each other creates the conditions of hell or heaven here on earth. We saw and heard about examples of such relationships of care in today's story because we gathered to share our stories, we learned our strength together. Because of the enriching, empowering, compassionate acts of some people, other people were able to thrive and contribute to the life of our fellowship in so many ways. And in the end, a baby smiled. The end or a new beginning. We can have such a positive effect on people's lives. Our goal in seeking liberation for all is not proving that we aren't racist, classist, ableist, ageist, homophobic, or xenophobic, because we are. We are human beings and social animals. We've been swimming in and perpetuating this cultural miasma for generations and have internalized it. Our goal, rather, as Chris Krass wrote in today's reading, is to unite to end structural oppression and unleash collective liberation throughout society. Our goal, he wrote, is to join hands across the divisions of racism and affirm the humanity in each other, to join hearts and minds in destroying white supremacy. Krass counseled our congregations to be places of healing and nourishment, quote, sustaining the multiracial struggles of our people to advance economic, racial, and gender justice, quote. We can be part of the continual process, he said, of ending oppression in society, rearing our children to be freedom fighters and practitioners of liberal values, liberation values. This naturally raises questions such as, what might sustaining the struggles of our people look like? What might it mean for our fellowship to be a place of healing and nourishment? If it already is, how so? Krass invites congregations to be spiritually alive, to learn from and contribute to persons and cultures working to liberate others from oppression, to be welcoming homes for all people. He invites us to regularly invite and prepare for courageous action, even while holding us all in loving community for the long haul. I think we are a spiritually alive congregation and can be enlivened further. We can always learn more from and contribute more to liberation cultures. We could be even more welcoming, an even more welcoming spiritual home for people in any number of ways. We could invite people and prepare our people for courageous action in new and different ways, such as encouraging each other to shelter in place, such as raising our voices against voter suppression efforts in coming months. We can and will be, as Krass envisioned, active agents in the world to help us all get free together. As Deanna Van Diver wrote, may we dare to remember each other into beloved community. May we remember and affirm that we are all in this together. In coming weeks and months, let us go all in, pulling together in the work for our collective liberation. Sometimes you might feel like a motherless child, like you have no friend, are almost gone and a long way home. In such times, may this loving community, as Amy Bowden Friedman said in our opening words, break through your loneliness, and may you feel the embrace of a larger spirit of life and love. Blessed be and amen.
We affirm the work of this fellowship and its mission through our financial contributions. We continue to rely on you paying your pledges and providing what you would otherwise drop in the collection plate. While our in-person activities may be suspended, our staff continue working hard to provide the services we need. They and the bills still need to be paid. Please give as generously as you can, and may what you give bring you joy. Please take this time to write a check if you wish and mail it to the fellowship at 6220 Jefferson Avenue, Midland, Michigan, 48640. To donate online, please stay after the service for instructions. Another option is to set up AutoPay, which will be arranged by asking the treasurer of the UUFOM for the checking account number, and then have your bank set up a regular payment from your account. Thank you for your generosity. Thank you, Melanie. Now with your mics muted, please join Ellen and Eric in singing our closing hymn, Our World is One World.
Our world is one world. What touches one that turns us all. The seas that wash us round about, the clouds that cover us, the rains that fall. Our world is one world. The thoughts we think affect us all. The way we build our attitudes with love and hate we make a bridge or wall.
spend the way we share, who are the rich or poor, who stand or fall.
Our world is one world, just like a ship that bears us all, where fear and greed make many holes, but where our hearts can hear a different call.
Thank you, Ellen and Melanie. As we depart our time together, may our hearts continue to hear that different call. May we remember that what touches one affects us all, and that we are held in loving community. And may we go all in as active agents in the world, helping us to all get free together. Thank you to everyone who helped make this service possible today, and thank you all for joining us today. If you can stay to chat, great. If you need to go, we will understand. Whatever you may encounter in the coming week, please know that the love of this community goes with you. For